Hey, everybody, welcome to Talking Habs 2024 NHL trade deadline wrap up. We'll give you all the news that is the news on the trade deadline. Yeah, we can go over everything that's happening in the trade deadline right here, especially what happened with our team, the Montreal Canadiens. Hey there, everybody. I'm Rick.
And
That
I'm Matt.
is Matt, and he's going to take over right now.
Yeah, listen, did a little recap video today. Obviously, some moves are made, Habs related moves, which are really good, and I'll kind of dive into it. Kind of take a look at some of the bigger trades and some interesting kind of tidbits of information that I learned that kind of had things lead to other things, and hopefully you guys find this interesting and. No, we'll kind of kick it off with the Canadians.
Yeah, since the Habs channel, we're going to start with the Habs. Let me just introduce that. So finally, everybody out there that's a Habs fan that's been calling for Jake Allen to be traded, guess what? Jake Allen got traded to the New Jersey Devils. Go ahead, Matt.
He did, and not to toot my own horn,
but he'll do it
anyway.
anyway.
I did kind of hint this last night because I got information from a source who is a good friend of mine. And basically I just said it's unlikely, but there's a greater than 0% chance Allen was going to be moved today. And I said, keep an eye on the Devils. And look what happened. And it realistically almost didn't happen. The interesting kind of stuff that came about around it really kind of started with Boston in trying to move Linus Ullmark. From kind of some information I gathered, he basically vetoed like 3 different deals, it sounds like, one of which was with the Devils that, from what I know, I don't know if it's totally true, but I have a pretty comfortable idea saying that this was going to be the return. It would have been Dawson Mercer and a first-round pick. Ullmark said no, and I think the Devils then pivoted to Jake Allen, I think almost immediately. And
no, not immediately, but not that long after, but not immediately. You could see there was time there in between, right? They had to work out a deal. But I imagine in what you mean is immediately it was like, okay, let's go see if we can get Allen.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, because it took about an hour, I would say, maybe a little, maybe a couple of hours, and then the news.
Yeah, and that that is a chunk of time, but in terms of like working out a deal, it really isn't, like,
especially when they may not have had any previous talks, so there was no foundation there for a deal to be made fast. It's probably what happened, and they had to work out a deal.
Right. I mean, absolutely. And I think going into the deadline, I think Ullmark was on the top of the Devils list.
Once it was known that he was becoming available, because that didn't happen until a couple of days ago.
Maybe even a week ago. Yeah, I think once
maybe the idea was out there, and they probably, you're right, probably a week ago where they were actually, before people actually found out. You're probably right. They were having talks. You're probably right.
And I think they went into deadline day basically kind of saying, all right, Allen's the guy, or not Allen. Ullmark's priority number 1. Let's see what we can do. And I think I do think that they did kind of have a little back and forth with the Canadians prior, basically just kind of saying, we like Allen.
Yeah.
May or may not be on the top of our list, but we might circle back, and then kind of left it at that, and then kind of pursued an Ullmark deal. For me, Dawson Mercer and a first-round pick would have been a great deal for the Bruins, but Ullmark, as his contractual right, declined the trade, and once that happened, the Devils went, well, we're out of goalie options. Let's go call our big pal Kent. And he said no, didn't he? And they're like, yeah, what do you want?
Yeah, I mean, it made sense. I was saying yesterday, the stream for the game, that if Jake Allen or Savard even is going to move, it more than likely it's going to be near the end where they're, the teams are going, okay, let's make this deal. And, they're more willing to pay the price that's being asked that they might be balking at, you know?
Right. And, that was kind of my feeling too. And a couple of people I talked to, that was sort of their feeling where, it was unlikely, but, if a team, like, again, in this case, like the Devils got desperate, whether it was they were running out of time or, again, in this case, their priority number one fell apart, Jake Allen was like the next best goalie on the market, realistically, because I don't think Markstrom was going to be moved. There really wasn't much chatter about him.
I saw what was said. They decided not to move Markstrom. Yeah, to because they're in the playoffs, I believe. Calgary, they wanted to give them a little confidence.
Right.
What they said. It's probably not. It sounds like it could be a bullshit reason, but that's what I heard was said.
Right, and
why Markstrom.
with him off the table, and Saros obviously off the table. There was a little talk he might have been available, but I personally never believed it. I didn't think he was going to be moved.
And then Nashville made moves like, no, you're not trading Saros because you're obviously making moves to try to fortify your forward.
Right.
You're not trading the goalie.
Right, because and at the end of the day, the Predators aren't a top team in this league, but I don't think they're a bad team. And I think that they made some moves to kind of solidify some stuff, and I think they're still in a playoff race.
Yeah, they're the hottest team right now in the league.
When you take those two names out of it, realistically, Allmark and Jake Allen were really the only two goalies that you could comfortably say, like, they could be moved for the right price at the deadline. And obviously, and again, Jake Allen's no slouch. We know what he brings to a team. He's not what he used to be, but he's still a good goaltender.
And he's got a really good playoff record. So
he's got a great playoff record. He's a great leader and a mentor. And I think a lot of the young players in New Jersey will definitely
he'll bring value to that dressing room.
But he's not Linus Allmark. We know Linus Allmark's coming off a Vezina campaign. We know he's a very good goaltender in this league. Hasn't really had the best run of form the past month or so. But, obviously it makes sense that he would have been the top priority. And again, it came down to, he said no, and the Devils went, well, Jake Allen's a good goalie. He's the only guy left. Let's call Kent, see what he wants. And they made the trade. And I was happy to see it. I love Jake Allen. Jake Allen's a great guy. We have a little bit of personal history with him, obviously, from, when we tragically lost Jeff. He wrote a nice message to Jeff's daughter. Just shows how much of a class guy he is, a professional he is. And, I'll miss him for that. But, at the end of the day, it was time. I think we all know that Sam Montembeault is the starter, and he needed to play more games to stay sharp. And with the way Caden Primo's developing right now, and he's the backup night and day from when he first came into the league, he needed more game time
he earned the backup role, I think, this year.
Right, exactly. So it was time. And I think getting a conditional third is fine. I have no issue with that return. I believe the condition is if Allen plays 40 games between now and the end of next season, it becomes a second, which is pretty feasible, honestly.
It is. Unless he gets hurt, he's gonna make that.
So in a sense, it was a second, which I think is what Kent Hughes wanted. But at the end of the day, if it remains a third, I'm still fine with that because as we've seen the way that this management group is drafted since they've taken over, any pick in the top 3 rounds, they can turn into something nice. So, and it's never a bad idea to add draft capital in the top 3 rounds at all. So overall, I'm very happy with the return and really just a lot of interesting moving parts that really one thing led to another to make the deal happen.
Yeah. And last minute, that was, it was pretty last minute when the news came that I think that Allmark was off the table. I want to say that was around 2, or it could have been in the morning around 11:30 or 12.
I think it was around.
Because I was on twice. I'm not sure which one it happened in.
There were really kind of two. There were two pieces of news with Allmark. I know Weeks reported early in the morning that LA was working out something with Boston, and then it went quiet for a little bit, and then I think it was Saravelli then said something about Allmark had nixed the trade or it fell apart, something along those
Fell
lines.
apart. I think is what I read. Fell apart.
I think within an hour and a half, 2 hours after that was the Allen trade. So, things move, fluidly for, what
Yeah,
is
so it was in
probably
the
a very
morning.
busy day for the Devils.
It was around 11:15 or so where the news came out that the Allmark trade fell through.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went on, like we were on. I was on with Cam and Alex, and so we left. And the only thing that had happened was Kuznetsov deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking it's slow and whatever. And we leave, and we're off air an hour and a half in, and like almost immediately, things started to happen.
Yeah. No, and then there were some good trades.
Just one last thing, there. And then I'm back on it too, and it couldn't wait. The Allen deal couldn't wait till 2. It came out about 1.
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure it was a little, yeah.
At 1:30, that news came out. So, but it couldn't wait till 2 for me to get on air.
No, when does any Habs news ever wait for you to be ready to be on
air?
Ever. But no, like I said, I mean, overall, I'm happy with this deadline for the Canadians. I think, they got a good asset in return for Jake Allen, and I think the more important part is Montembeault and Primo are going to play more. They're going to get better, and they're going to be able to stay sharp for longer. And as much as a lot of Habs fans don't want to see us win and just want to see us lose and lose and lose and lose because they're miserable,
I think
it's only going to be good for this confidence.
I think those fans are going to complain that they didn't move. That they didn't get a first-round pick for David Savard. It's a failing on them that they couldn't. They didn't go out and get a first-round pick. Like they didn't try. I'm sure that was the price. I'm sure that was the price. Nobody was willing to pay for it. So
I was told that 4 or 5 teams had talked with the Canadians on.
I saw that on Twitter too. That there was interest. And
and I kind of got an inkling of that yesterday too, from a source, and but Ken Hughes stayed put at his price of a first overall pick. No one wanted to pay it, and at the end of the day, again, I think with what David Savard brings to a young developing team like the Canadians,
is more value than
I'm fine. Like there's a lot of value in keeping him rather than trading him for, say, a 3rd or a 4th round pick.
Right. Unless they got paid the price they wanted, he wasn't going to move because he brought value by staying as well.
Right. And Ken Hughes touched on that.
You can't say that with Jake Allen, and it's not a knock on Jake Allen at all, but the 3-goalie system is not working. Him being here when you need to move him is not bringing any value, so they needed to move Allen. Mm-hmm. Savard, they didn't need to. Next season is different.
Right. And and again, Ken Hughes touched on that aspect on David Savard in his press conference, where he basically talked about what we just kind of said. Like, in his mind, David Savard has a lot of value to this team, and he wasn't going to move him unless basically he got blown away. He got an offer that he couldn't refuse. And
what some people would say,
I like that, because to me that tells me that he's thinking to the future. He's thinking, well, I have a solid veteran defenseman on this team that the guys like, that they learn from, that they can talk to about just living the NHL lifestyle or anything that might be going on.
Yeah.
And it helps the culture in the locker room, builds character in the locker room, and he sees value in that. And we do too. And it's just another reason why I just absolutely love Kent Hughes as the GM of this team, because he sees things like that, and he's smart. He knows I'm not letting this guy go unless I get a first-round pick, because I know the value that he brings to this team.
Yeah, he's got a vision, and he knows where he wants to go, and he sticks to his guns.
Right, and I think he did the same with Jake Allen. I think he knew, like, listen, I won't move him unless I get my price, but
I
You
think
know,
they
there's a
wanted.
chance that there might be a team or two that are going to get desperate, and I'll get my price, and he did.
I think he wanted a definite second round pick, but I think he also felt, and I don't think he gave this away like playing his cards close to his chest. I think he felt they have to move Allen.
Yeah.
So when it got close to that time, he got as good as he could get, which is he might still get that second round pick, but
Right. I
he
mean,
might not,
exactly.
and he might not. But he got close to it, and I think
Look, he's still
the
got
value of
a
moving him
top
was
3
important.
round draft pick. I mean,
Yeah,
like I
no,
said, to me,
it's
a
fine.
top 3 round draft pick is good. It's good value, especially like I said. You look at the past 2 drafts from this management. I know people are gonna bitch about last year, but I don't care because I look at the way this management is drafted. That first draft, they not only added a lot of depth to the pool, but they addressed deficiencies in defensive depth, offensive depth. They got someone who I really think is going to be a superstar in this league in Lane Hudson. We know what Slap is turning into before our eyes. I mean, even some of the later guys, like Vincent Rohr, I don't know if he's going to amount to anything, but there's a lot of potential there. I mean, even a guy like Mishar, that other pick in the first round, I think Mishar is the most slept on prospect in hockey. And then you look at last year, and what did we lack in depth-wise in the pool? Goaltenders. We got the best goalie in the draft. We got a hell of another goalie in the draft, and I don't know his name, but he's playing in the KHL right now. And a couple other goalies just to bolster the depth in the prospect pool. And we added a guy like David Reinbacher, who's a defenseman that is solid in his own end. He's responsible, but he's a facilitator. He's good in transition. He'll move the puck. These are key players that you need for the team to work well together. You can't just have guys that are good at defense and then guys that are just good at offense, or defenders that just do one thing. You need a defender like a Lane Hudson, like a David Reinbacher, like what we're sort of seeing out of Arbor Jacki, where defensively responsible. Might be a few deficiencies there with Lane Hudson. I mean, I'll admit that. There's a few things, but for the majority, I mean, he's solid. And they can transition the puck well and play well on the other side of the ice. You need guys like that to be great in this league. And, they've done a really good job of stacking depth in the prospect pool. And, again, you look at all the first 3 rounds of the last 2 drafts, and I don't know how anyone could complain.
All right, let's move on to any other trades you want to talk about that happened today.
Yeah, I mean, there were a few other trades. I mean, we can kind of stay on Boston for a little bit just because I did talk about Allmark. They did get Pat Maroon for a late round pick, which, I mean, it's depth. I don't know how much he really helps them in terms of production. I think he's just more he's a bruiser. He's going to be physical.
Yeah. And he's hurt. He's not going to be back in the lineup for 2-3 weeks, from what I understand.
Yep. And they got Andrew Peak, who's, again, I mean, he's depth. They did give up I think a third in Jakob Zaboral.
Yeah.
Zaboral, I think a lot of Bruins fans are fine giving him up because they got guys like Lohrei kind of stepping up now. And I mean, I'm not wild about the third, but again, I think the Bruins are in a position where I think they need to go for it this year, because I think they're at a point where, like, their cup window is like this. Like last year it was here, now it's here.
Yeah.
They're getting near the end of it. I think they extended Wotherspoon, who's okay. But I do know they lost Derek Forbort for the rest of the regular season, which is probably why they went and got Andrew Peak. Overall, wasn't really what I expected from Boston. I thought Allmark was going to get moved. But, like I said, as is right, he stuck to his guns with his no trade clause. And, I think the Bruins will probably win a round or two. But, we'll see what happens after that. But I know Cam was pretty disappointed with their trade deadline. He was
Yeah.
he was pretty upset about it, and obviously a team like Vegas added a lot. And we could do a whole separate video on Vegas, but
yeah, pretty much.
I think adding Hanifin yesterday
with Allmark not waiving, there was not much Boston could do.
Well, right. I think with Vegas, obviously getting Hanifin yesterday, I think is a big boost to their defensive core. Adding Tomas Hertl is again just another really good. I mean, he'll play top 6 now, but I mean, even when guys come back in the playoffs, because we know that's what's going to happen. Again, he's a good. Just having a guy like that as a depth piece is phenomenal. I mean, and it's just it's a Kelly McCrimmon trade deadline. That's what he does.
They also announced that they had bought the Smoke and Mirrors company because they were the biggest client. That seems to be how they're doing it with Smoke and Mirrors.
Yeah, I mean, we know Mark Stone's been on LTIR. I think I want to say around 4:00 yesterday. Alex Martinez went on IR. They'll probably move him to LTIR if they have.
Yeah, he's on LTIR,
which basically freed up like $10 million. But again, these are Kelly McCrimmon moves. This is what he does.
Also, getting who'd they get the last one there? He's on IR. Who's the last guy they got?
I don't know about Hanifin and Tomas Hertl.
Hurdle's on IR. So, and what I hear that he went on LTIR. So he's probably gone till the playoffs.
Yeah, more than likely. Close. But again, these are Kelly McCrimmon moves. This is what he's done every year. He's been GM, and I have to applaud him for it. He might be doing anything illegal at times. Obviously, we think about the way that Marc-Andre Fleury kind of left town, but I also have to respect the way that he does business because he wants his team to win, and he makes the moves to make that possible. I respect it. I mean, they're the other team that I cheer for a lot. And so I mean, I'm happy, but
they got to do something to close some of those loopholes with the.
But I think they do, and I know a lot of people watching this, and I know you and myself kind of saw that graphic about Mark Stone every year around 2-ish weeks before the trade deadline going to LTIR. kind of fishy, but again, Kelly McCrimmon moves. I mean, this is what I expect out of him. This is what he does. And they still have a 2024 first-round pick. And I did learn, too, that the reason they put that weird condition on the first for Hanifin was because this Hertl deal was just about done yesterday. So they put the condition on it because they didn't know which pick was going to go where.
Right, yeah. Because that's a weird one.
Yeah, it was like if they trade the 2025 first by, like, today, then it would be a 2026 first going to Calgary, which is what happened.
Yeah.
But, again, this is just anyone who knows how Kelly McCrimmon operates. His name's written all over this. This is what he does.
Let's move on to another one. What do you think of Tyler Toffoli going to Winnipeg?
I mean, I think Winnipeg's loading up for a run. I love Tyler Toffoli.
Yeah, they are loading up for a run.
He's he's older now. He's, not what he once was, but, I mean, even from his time in LA, I always liked him. His time here was very well liked. Obviously scored that goal against Winnipeg in the 2021 Cup run. And, he's a good veteran presence, great guy. Still got a really good shot on him. He can definitely help Winnipeg. He's a player that I think fits in well there. And with Velarde going out, I think it was an addition they needed to make, and I think it was a good trade. I didn't think they gave up a lot for him. I thought it was a fair trade both ways. Maybe the Devils didn't make out as well as I would have thought, but at the end of the day, I thought Winnipeg was good.
A third in 2024, second in 2025. That's all. That's all that Winnipeg gave up to get Tyler Toffoli,
Not bad.
and New Jersey retained 50% of Toffoli's contract too.
That's probably why one of those picks was thrown in.
Yeah, okay, but I mean, even
And that's
that's not a lot.
that's typically how that happens. It'll be like
That's not a lot for a guy like Toffoli, you'd think.
no, and that's why I said like I don't think the Devils got the better end of that deal. I mean, you get draft capital, which is always great. But yeah, I thought they maybe could have got a little more for a guy like Toffoli.
Wasn't he leading their scoring or something, Toffoli? No, but he was near the top.
Yeah, and look, even though he's an older player, he's still got a lot of the tools that have made him, a household name in this league.
Yeah.
I mean, I still have a puck signed by him. He's a great player. Like I said, I think he fits well with Winnipeg. They did make another move. I can't remember for who though. Was it Roslovic?
No. Who got
Winnipeg made another trade? I can't remember who it was for though.
No, Roslovic. Might be right. I'm trying to find it. Rangers got Roslovic. No, they got Colin White. That was the other one. Colin White. No, Colin Miller. Colin Miller.
Yes. I'm pulling up I had a little trade tracker too. But yeah, I mean, Colin Miller's a depth D-man. He's prone to some brain farts. Sure, it's up the depth. But to me, I think, their biggest thing was getting Toffoli. I think Toffoli is going to fill in nicely for Velarde when they get Velarde back. Having a guy like Toffoli on that team just bolsters the scoring.
Yeah, for sure.
Depth more.
It's a good move. Sure.
Really good move.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Who else stood out there for you?
Thought the Hurricanes did some decent bits of business. Obviously, one of the biggest names that moved, Jake Etzel. And honestly, I didn't like the return. I did not like what Pittsburgh got.
No, I mean, they got Michael Bunting, 3 prospects, but they got a first-round pick.
Isn't there a condition on it, though? There's a condition.
I don't know what the condition is, though.
I think Carolina has to, if they win the cup, it turns into something. Turns into a first, but I think it's just a second.
Into Cinderella?
I think it's a second, and if Carolina wins the cup, I think it turns into a first.
It's listed as a conditional first-round pick, and there's conditional 5th-round pick.
Oh, okay.
And they retained 25% of Gensel's contract. Pittsburgh did. But no, I mean you're getting Gensel and Ty Smith. I mean that's you're giving. I don't think you got enough back for him.
No, I don't think so. And I think honestly, it's one of Kyle Dubas's vices. He, for whatever reason, loves assembling Sioux Greyhounds.
There you go.
I think that's why he wanted Michael Bunting. And the Carolina Hurricanes said, "All right, who else do we have that played for Sioux? We'll give him to you."
Yeah, wouldn't be funny if all 3 of those guys, but we know one of them didn't. It's an American kid.
Okay, so here's that. So it's a 2024 first, but it's conditional. If Carolina doesn't make the Cup final, then the Penguins get Philadelphia's 2nd-round pick in 2024.
Wow, that sucks. So I mean, they're getting a second. In other words, they're not getting that first.
Yeah. So they got a 2nd, a 5th, and
Michael Bunting, and 3
minor type prospects. It wasn't anything that nothing special. Kind of mid-level prospects. I mean, I don't know much about the Canes prospect system. I mean, there could be something there for one of these guys, but from what I was reading, no one seemed to be really wild about him. So Kyle Dubas,
exactly. That's exactly it. I don't think there's anything there to write home about. So yeah, I mean, I think the Dubas at work again. Typical.
Yeah, and then obviously too, the Hurricanes picked up Evgeny Kuznetsov for a 3rd.
Yeah, I want to ask, what do you think? What do you think of that?
I mean, if Kuznetsov is better, because we know he went through a lot.
Yeah.
But if he's better and can play at the level we know he can play at, that's a steal. I mean, I think that's a steal. At 50% retained and all you gave up was a third, that's a steal.
What do you think that means for KK?
I agree with what Treg said when that trade came out. I think they're about done with him. I do.
Of course. I mean, how could they not be? They, I mean, at this point, if he can't,
he's their $6 million problem, not ours.
No, I know he is. It's 4.8, but I mean, 4.8 might as well be 6 million. Yeah, he's just not. He's not that guy.
No,
can't even do anything much on the fourth line.
No, he's gone what? Almost 20 games without a point or something. It's something like between 15, 20 games without a point.
41 games, I think, without a goal, and it might be 19 games, so maybe 20 now without a point. I think that's the number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the KK experiment's over. They're ruined the day that they offer sheeted him, and then Ken Hughes said, all right, he's yours.
No, Bergeron.
Oh, was it Bergeron? I couldn't remember because it was. I couldn't remember if it was but it was that off season though, right?
I not possibly it was Bergevin. That I do know it was Bergevin.
I think it was right before Bergevin got axed because it was that off season. It was the off season after the cup run.
Yeah.
And then we didn't match it, and then like a couple weeks later, or no, then it was like a little bit into the season when they axed him.
Yep. Yeah, it was a big mistake. That's what happens when you reach.
Well, no, that's what happens when you go, oh, they tried to offer sheet Aho, so we're going to take their prospect. And then we
but I mean, in KK, I mean, that's what happens when you reach when you got third overall pick and you reach and don't take the best player available. This is what happens. You get that guy. Not every single time, but often that happens. All right, well, who's next? Which trade was next that intrigued you?
I thought Nashville, and I know we touched on Nashville a little bit, just, because we talked about Saros and we kind of talked about they added.
Yeah.
I love the addition of Jason Zucker. I think that's a great addition.
From Arizona, they got a 6 for Jason Zucker. And do you see what else Arizona? Dumba. They sent Dumba and a pick and got back like nothing for Dumba.
They got a 5th,
but that's Matt. And they gave a 7th. So you gave Matt. Like I thought that's a bad asset management. I'm not saying Dumba's a great whatever, but you should have got more for Dumba.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think Matt Dumba is still a quality D-man in this league. He's not like a top.
No, but he's still
he'll do a job. He's a really good guy to have on your core. Like
he's worth more than he's worth more than they got.
I think so, especially because they had to throw in another pick.
That's like it's almost insulting. I thought if I'm that team, like what? How do they give that up? I'm trying to find the damn thing. I can't find it. Jesus Christ! There it is. Dumba in the 7th in 2025 for a 5th. In 2027. Not even like it's a 5th in 2027.
Well, and you saw
you gave Dumba away.
You kind of saw that a lot too with teams like Tampa or Boston or Toronto where they're trading picks at like 26 and 27 because they get no picks this year next year.
No, I get that, but I'm saying that, and that's Tampa has no picks. But the thing is, you gave Dumba away basically.
Yeah.
And said, you know what? Want Matt Dumba for free? And hey, we'll even give you another draft pick. Come on, we're feeling good today. Like that's what it was like. There were a couple of shockers like that you got to go, what? That's all?
Yeah. Ooh, there was another one. Oh.
Even for Roslovic. Well, they held.
Yeah, I was just going to bring up Roslovic because I got it up here. Roslovic to the Rangers for like a mid-round pick in 2026.
Yeah, because they retained 50%. That makes sense when you retain, but when you don't, I don't get it.
Well, right, and this was actually something that me, Cam, and Alex talked about yesterday when in regards to, how moves could take shape because and I love Cam to death, but the way that he was sort of talking about the way the Bruins could make moves were more so from like just kind of player for player, like not really considering, well, who's got trade protection? You know, if you got to retain, what kind of pick you're going to have to give up to retain? And I kind of chimed in and I said, well, the problem with the Bruins is they don't have cap space, so they're going to have to give something up to get a team to retain. But if you're trading a guy like Allmark and the team has to retain like $2.5 million, it's going to cost you like a 3rd round pick, and the Bruins don't have that for like 3 years.
No, they didn't have any wiggle room. They had no wiggle room.
There wasn't a lot they could offer to a third team broker, and they couldn't take on money. So, and I think that complicated a lot of things, and which is why I think it was a quiet deadline.
Which is why it was a quiet deadline, 100%. Okay, that's going to bring us to the end because look, it's 35 minutes in.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that you got to talk about? Any other of the moves you got to mention, or otherwise we're done?
I get really 2 more quick things. I do want to touch a little bit on Tarasenko to Florida. I think Florida just got absolutely more loaded. I think Tarasenko can help them out immensely. I mean, right now, I think they win the cup. I mean, to me, they're the most complete team in the league. I don't see another team in the East beating them in a 7-game series. I just don't right now. I think they got everything all over the ice. I think they have great offensive depth. They got really good stars on offense, guys like Sam Reinhart.
But it doesn't mean it won't happen. But
Matty
you're right.
Tkachuk. But yeah, I mean, I think the way that team, and adding Tarasenko, the way that team's built, I look at them and I go, they're built to go on a long run. They may even win it.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. And if they win the President's Trophy, though, I don't know.
I will say one very, very important caveat with Panthers and their fans, something I think a lot of Panthers fans are probably holding their breath on. Sam Reinhart's a UFA at the end of this year.
They got to re-sign him. If they don't, they're idiots. But okay.
The Panthers don't have money. And I don't think they're going to have a lot of money next year.
But, I mean, he's a free agent when? This year? He's a free agent at the end
of this season. He's a free agent. And
they got to work out a deal.
Going on. I don't know.
But they can work out a deal and then sign it. Can't they work out a deal?
No, they could. And there could be talks going on. I don't have any. Later. I don't have any sources that are connected with Florida, so I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they're not working on something now because I think Sam Reinhart's one of the best players in this league right now.
If he's
not like on the star level as some of those.
They didn't trade him, but listen, they didn't trade him.
I don't think they were going to trade him anyway. They
couldn't because
they're going on a cup run.
Right, right. So they're prepared. They might lose him, but they'll sign him.
I mean, I think so. I don't. You can't let a guy like that walk
win a cup. If they win a cup, he'll want to sign again and win another one.
Right. No, I mean, I agree. Like I said, I mean, I think Sam Reinhart's probably the best free agent forward coming into free agency.
Yeah. But he's not going to go anywhere.
He's phenomenal.
He's not going to go anywhere. All right. Anything else you wanted to add here?
Just one more little tidbit on the Allen trade. We're only retaining $1.9 million, which for the next 2 seasons is fine with the cap going up. Like, that's nothing. It's better than the 3.8.
You're going to confuse everybody. It's not the next 2 seasons. It's next season.
Oh, just next
and the rest of this season. So because you said the next 2, that's going to.
Yeah, no, you're right. No, I do apologize. You are right.
Yeah, no worries. All right.
But again, with the cap going up, I would hold it on $1.9 million next year instead of 3.8.
I mean, yeah. Listen, it was a necessary move, and if we all knew they're going to use that retain on Jake Allen,
I think you and I both agreed that's probably why they weren't brokering deals because they probably said, well, wait, someone calls in on Allen, we'll probably have to retain.
Yep, that's probably why exactly. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed that. It was with time constraints. That's all we could get to.
Mm-hmm.
And besides, I don't think I can stay awake for much longer for anymore. It's been a long day, but now the trade deadline is over, so we can all be happy. Hopefully, whoever, I don't know where you're watching from, what your fan base is, but hopefully you got what you wanted at the trade deadline. and next year we do it all over again. That's it. I got nothing else to add. Matt said enough already. So thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you on the next one. And that's it. I hope you had a good day. Hope you enjoyed the show. Please give a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Stay safe. Peace out. Keep your stick on the ice. Go Habs, go. And that's it. I got nothing else to say. Ciao, everybody.
Yeah, everyone.